So, let's get straight into it. Here we have my Battle Trance deck here that I've made. This deck, for me, I would say would be my go-to if I'm focusing on rankings. So if I'm focusing on maintaining a good score in terms of wins and losses, and also focusing on going to pro, this is my go-to deck for that. Very consistent with the results. I climbed back to pro rank really easily with this deck in 2 days, from rank 3 back to pro. So I definitely highly recommend it. I'm going to look to go through this now with you guys and kind of just explain from the bottom up the workings of each card and kind of how they flow together and how to play different rounds, and hope you can learn a bit more from this deck by this video as well. I will put a link in the description if you check it out below for another video which I've made which relates to this one. It's an explanation video of this deck where I'm pretty much giving a commentary while I'm playing a match. So it's kind of similar to this, but it's more of a interactive way of seeing this deck in action. So you may want to check that out too. But anyway, we're going to go ahead with this now. So at the bottom here, we've got the Invader card. Obviously, she'll gain momentum throughout each round with her veteran trait. So she'll get 1 point on as each round passes. So this is kind of a card I've put in this deck, more or less just the way to fill out some space in there. It's not necessarily something I aim for. Best to keep this card towards the end if you have to use it. Obviously you wouldn't really use it in the beginning because it doesn't have much value. It's only 5 points of value in the beginning. The Crow's Eye cards here, these alchemy cards, really good to play after you have a druid on the field, because you only spawn 2 crows with 1 druid. You'll have 3 if there's a druid on the field. So basically, the best way to open up the first round would be dropping Raging Bear down first, because you'd have to damage one of your own units before playing it. So you don't want any of your units on the field. Drop Raging Bear down first. After that, play the crows, which will allow you to drop into Crow Clan Druid, because she boosts adjacent beasts by 2. So basically you just place her between the crows or the bear, and it's going to boost each of them by 2. So even though she's a 4-point card, obviously this turns into an 8-point card when you play her, if you play her right. So that's pretty much how it open. Raging Bear, Crow Messenger, the druids. Then from there you can spawn. Can take two lots of these cards in. I'd go for all of them. Take 2 lots of these. Take 2 lots of the druids, the bear, the crows. And after having so many crows on the field, you're really going to get a lot of value out of Axel 3 Eyes here. So reason for that is, if you play Axel 3 Eyes on the ranged row, he boosts himself by 1 for each allied beast. So have a think about it. Basically you've got Raging Bear, you got the Crow Messengers, and then all these other crows which are spawned from the Crow's Eye. It adds up to a lot of points. So it's a pretty strong first round you can play like that. To be honest, typically for me that would usually win the round. Just having this combination of 2 Crow's Eyes, the Crow Messenger, along with the 2 druids, the bear, and Axel 3 Eyes, those are first round cards that you can play, and 9 times out of 10, really good results. Golden Froth, you could save that towards the end, obviously, when you have 2 of these Crow Clan Preachers on the field, because when there's 2 of them on the field and you play an alchemy card, they'll boost themselves by 2, however many you have of them, as long as you got at least 2 on the field. So pretty much makes sense to save alchemy cards towards the end, bar the Crow's Eye. You may find that your 2 rows become too filled up, and that could kind of be a problem. So best to use that combination I've explained, these in the first and use those in the second. If you have 2 Crow Clan Preachers on the field and you're playing this, once again, the 2 Crow Clan Preachers boost themselves by 2 each for each alchemy card. So even though this is a 6-point card here, it will turn into more than that if you look at it that way, boosted with these cards as well. The Armored Drakkar, it's more or less a card I wouldn't use at all, really. The only time I'd really use this is more of a substitute for Draco Turtle, because obviously with Draco Turtle and this card, they have this boosting kind of synchronicity where if they get damaged, they generate vitality in return. So you could use your Mardrome onto this, just as you would for the Draco Turtle also. So that's something worth having a think about when you're drawing cards, and say if you're into the 3rd round and obviously you want to use your Mardrome, your leader ability, these 2 or from the scenario to boost the card more than usual, you at least want to bring this card into the end, but preferably Draco Turtle, because you can really gain a lot of points. It will boost itself by the amount it's damaged as well. So just make sure that if you're going to boost Draco Turtle with this alchemy card here, that it's got enough armor left, because if its armor runs out, it doesn't regenerate. So that's something worth noting too. Freya's Blessings, really good to use on the last round again, when you've got your scenario up and running with these cards on the field. Same principle. It just gets a lot more value that they'll boost themselves whenever an alchemy card is played. Obviously this is an alchemy card, so you can generate a lot of points by, say, using Freya's Blessing back on these Crow Messengers if you use them in the 1st round. So it can just really get you a lot of points. Grimmest here, more or less a card that is kept obviously if you're versing people who are going to use poison, locking, bleeding. It may seem a bit unorthodox, but to be honest, I'd even use it against Symbiosis, because when they're using it to boost their units, you can kind of disrupt them a bit in the 1st round using him. So I mean, it's good to think outside the box and use your cards however you can to get an edge in any of the rounds. Do something that's like unusual and tricky, you can catch your opponent off guard, so I find that works a bit interesting sometimes. But yeah, definitely, obviously this card's just dependent on the deck you're playing. That's when you're going to draw this card. So we've got our Defended here, Covenant of Steel. Obviously this is to protect our scenario from getting destroyed, say through Heatwave or any of our other big cards such as Draco Turtle. This card here, more or less, I use in case the defender gets taken out. So say if I'm opening the third and final round, I'd open up with the defender. If that gets taken out by something, use this card, bring it back in. At the same time, if you manage to play Crow Mother in the first round, which is the best thing to do, at that time she would come back on the field, obviously, because whenever you play an alchemy card, Crow Mother gets summoned from your graveyard to a random allied row. So, as you can see, there's like a lot of different ways to quickly gain points with this deck. Obviously, we have Geralt here just to reset units with. I find a lot of decks rely on boosting their units, just as this one does. So, for the majority of the time, this card here would come in handy for sure. So, once again, this is a good card to take into the third and final round with the scenario, with the defender, and you take it with Crow Clan Preacher 2 because, as I said, you're going to get more value having two of them on the field because they're going to boost themselves by 2 instead of 1 if there's 2 in the field. So you'll get one that spawns from the scenario, and then you also have one that you play from your hand on the field, so there's your 2. So that's pretty much why I have this card in as well. So for the most part, that's pretty much it. So quick summary once again. In the first round, can draw upon these 2, Crow Messenger, Crow Clan Druids, Raging Bear, Axel 3 Eyes, and Crow Mother. Say if you get pushed into a round 2 because you lose round 1, our tactic with this deck is to play a long round 3, but say if you do have to play into a round 2 because the opponent pressures you into that, just go ahead and open up as you would if you're playing the final round. So if you got defender and then play your scenario, and then that will definitely get you through that. It's a lot of points. And then if that happens, you'd want to save Draco Turtle for the short third, with saving your alchemy leader ability onto it. That's going to drop Crow Mother out as well. So you can see, even if you're going to get pushed into a quick third round, you can still have a lot of points if you have Draco Turtle in your hand, or this card here too. So just remember, the leader ability is best saved for Draco Turtle or this card here. It's the best thing to do. It'll get you a lot of points and pretty much pull you through from what I've seen. You just got to understand the deck you're versing, anticipate their cards well. What are they going to play next? How is that going to impact your play? And just strategize real well throughout the rounds, and most of the time you can pull off a victory with this deck and with this kind of gameplay. That seems to be about it for my explanation for this deck guide. If there's any other kind of tips or suggestions you'd like me to go into more, just leave some comments. Please remember to like and subscribe, helps my channel grow. Really appreciate all the views, and to all the people who comment regularly and show a lot of support. That's always noticed and appreciated, so thanks for that. And thanks so much as always, and good luck. Talk to you all soon.